Welcome back. If you see me playing with my phone during this, I got a new camera, so the video quality should be better, but I can also control it off this phone. So let's talk about tools again. I just did the video on what type of tools you should be buying, and I really didn't talk about power tools very much. If you're starting out into this industry and you're debating buying tools, one of the things that you're going to buy in order to save yourself time and make yourself money are power tools. I've got a couple laid out behind me that I'll grab throughout this video to kind of discuss. So I guess we'll start off with the 1/2-inch impacts. One of your standard tools that an auto mechanic or auto technician is going to have for years. This is nothing new. These have been around for a very long time and they're very helpful. This is an air impact wrench. So we plug our air hose into this end, and you probably can't even read what brand this one is anymore. It's been used a lot. And that's because it is a tool that you use pretty much every day, but there's two varieties now. I guess there has been for a while, but the other one was not worth actually doing anything with for a long time. So we've got our air impact and our electric impact. And there is a difference between a cheap air or a cheap electric and a more expensive electric or air most of the time. Sometimes you can get a cheap Chinese one that actually works quite well. But for the most part, you can clearly read the name on this one. This one, not so much. This air impact was, when I bought it, the strongest 1/2-inch air impact available on the market, to my knowledge. I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head. I think it's something like 975 foot-pounds is what it's rated at. In fact, they actually derated the newer ones. So if you buy this brand and you buy a brand new one, they're actually rated a little bit less than what this one had. Now this 18-volt lithium-ion electric is also rated in that same neighborhood. Without looking it up, I believe this one's rated at right around 1,000 foot-pounds. Which one's better? Good question, not an easy answer. This one, sitting here holding them, I'm going to put it down first because it's heavier. It's a little bit more unwieldy. If you look at it, it is physically larger. It's not going to fit in some spaces where the air one does. So those are a couple of the disadvantages of this electric. And they have gotten a lot better. 10 years ago, I wouldn't even be talking about these because nobody really used electric impacts because they sucked. They didn't have any power and the batteries died incredibly quickly. Battery is where we've really made improvements in the last 10 to 15 years. When I started, I owned one battery powered tool, and it was an electric drill. And I had a plug-in corded one as a backup because if you had to drill a lot of holes, the battery powered one still really sucked to use. So batteries are a lot better, which have made these a lot more viable option. So that's really the only reason why we're even having this discussion, is batteries have gotten a lot better. And I personally think they will continue to get a lot better. If they continue to improve at the same rate they have over the last 10 years, in 15, 20 years, we won't even use air-powered tools anymore. So that's the electric. Now, between the two of them, I own both. There have been times where this electric will either remove or snap off bolts that the air won't. And vice versa. I've had times that the electric wouldn't do a job, get the air out, and it takes things right apart. It's got to be, they hammer different. If you listen to them work, you can actually hear a difference in the way they work. Which one is better? I don't really have an answer. This one doesn't have to be hooked to an air hose. You can take this out in the middle of the field, use it anywhere. As long as you've got charged up batteries and a couple of them, which isn't as big of a deal as it used to be because they actually last quite a while, you can take this thing anywhere. It's kind of heavy and awkward to carry, but you can take it. The advantage of this one, never have to charge it as long as your shop air system is working. It's lighter, it's more maneuverable, it's a little bit shorter. The newer ones are shorter yet, and they kind of lost a little bit of power when they did that. So out of the impacts, which one are you going to buy? Whatever one you think will fit what you're doing best. I'm not going to take this out into a field and use it, or a junkyard, or any place else that you may want to take power tools. This one's been to a few yards along with pretty much every other tool that uses that battery. Okay, so that's the 1/2 inch. Really, I would say it's a toss-up, and it's whatever you think fits your needs better. I have both. I use both. Sometimes it really depends on what mood I'm in, which one I'll pick up. And I don't have a good answer for you. Let's go down to a 3/8 impact. So we got different brand on the 3/8 pneumatic or air impact. Same brand, so it uses the same battery on the 3/8 electric impact. If you look at these two tools, this air impact, I used it for many years when they first came out. It's older than my 1/2 inch air. It's pretty beat up because this is a tool when you're trying to work quick and make money in a shop that you will use a lot on disassembly. Maybe you're not supposed to, but you will use it a lot on disassembly. This electric is newer. If you look at it, it's also beat up. Same reason. It gets used a lot. Both have been problem-free. Both have been really good. Now, I can tell you that it has been, just by this air fitting, every shop I've worked in has had different air fittings for some reason. There's only like 6 different styles that fit a standard air tool like this, and I've worked in a shop that has used like every one of the 6. So anyway, this air fitting, I know this one is a shop that I worked in probably about 5 years ago. So I have not used this 3/8 air impact in at least 5 years. Why? Because that's probably around the time that I got this electric. So while I'm not going to tell you which one to buy, basically the same pros and cons. This one's a little bit smaller, not much. The air is lighter. This one's actually really quiet. I'm not even going to bother to change the fitting or else I'd run it. But this is a quiet 3/8 impact. This is also very quiet. I can run it. Makes a little bit more noise than that when it's hammering, but it's quiet. It's got this big bulky battery off the back. That's probably the biggest drawback to this 3/8 electric impact is this big battery off the bottom. Now, which one has more power? I don't really know. I don't really care. If I get into a situation where my 3/8 doesn't work, I grab a 1/2 inch. I'm more concerned with overall power on the 1/2 inch side. The 3/8, both of these 3/8s have more than enough power to spin 3/8 drive tools. Which one of these should you buy, air or electric? Again, I'm not going to tell you. That's your decision to make. But I will tell you, based on this air fitting, I haven't used this one in 5 years, and that's about the time I got the electric. So that tells you right there which one I use more. Let's move on to a couple more power tools. This little guy right here, this is a die grinder. I would also include any of your cutoff wheels or anything that's similar to this tool in this category. As of right now, this is a very small tool that plugs into a hose. So this is a very small tool that plugs into an air hose. They do make these in battery powered now, but look at how much that limits this. This is a very lightweight, maneuverable tool. I'm sure that they probably don't use the same size battery pack on them, but the general idea stays true. In my opinion, these may eventually turn into a tool you buy in electric, but as of right now, something like this, the size and maneuverability of the air is just so much better than the electric. I'd recommend an air on these ones. All right, here's the last power tool I'm going to talk about. This is an air hammer. If you work in the climate that I do, which would be a nice rust belt area, this is a tool that you need to have. I will do some demos later on, and this tool is going to save me some time. If you notice how good a shape this one's in, it's because I've used it once so far. I just got this tool. Now, I'm sure the video quality on this new camera is good enough that you can see what brand it is. I will say that when I started out in this field 15 years ago, I didn't personally think that this company made very good air tools. If you look at the newer stuff that I bought, it's pretty much all from them. I don't think they were that good a while ago. I think they've really stepped their game up. And maybe I shouldn't even say that I don't think they were that good. I think there were other tools on the market that were as good or better at a lower price. Now they are making some really good tools. So it's kind of up to you. Air hammer, if you're in my region, this is something you don't want to cheap out on. I actually replaced a functional, I think that one's probably about 13, 14 years old. I replaced an air hammer that still works. It just doesn't have quite enough power to do what I need it to do in this climate. So this is one of those things that it's going to stay air power. I don't think they're making this in electric yet. They might be, but I would imagine the best version of this is going to stay air powered for quite some time. Now there are other types of power tools that I didn't talk about, but those are some of the ones that you're going to use most often as a professional mechanic. So I kind of went through them as I did with the other one. I'm not really going to give you an answer. You need to look at what you're doing and decide what fits your needs the best. So be cautious of anybody that ever tells you this is what you need. I will tell you that all of the power tools that I have, I think are quite good. That's why I bought them. But they also fit my needs. So figure out what works for you and go from there. Some of these topics, I have a lot more I could go into, and I'm kind of cutting them a little bit short. If you had a face-to-face conversation with me, I might go into a little bit more detail on why I made the choices that I made and things like that. But at the end of the day, you need to worry about what you're doing. So pick what works best for you. Take what I say with a grain of salt, because just because it works well for me doesn't mean it will work well for you. And thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you back again soon.